Hi, Cameron with MB here, and we're gonna do some diamond refinishing on marble. We're gonna use our Ultra Turbo marble pads. We'll see how bad the damage is, but these go from 50 to 3,500. I don't think we're gonna use the 50. I will be using the NSI backer system that has this adapter, and it goes 3, 4, 5, and 7-inch backers. For this, we're going to use the 5-inch and set this aside for later. We do want to see that this is a perfectly polished piece of marble. And now it's not, so it's all etched up. Put some lime away. So you want to have a spray bottle, squeegee. If you use acid to squeegee, you gotta clean your squeegee off so you don't cause damage as you go. Regular spray bottles work fine. These are a little bit nicer. Alright, so you can see that it's all etched up. There's also some scratches in here. Simulates a pretty heavily worn marble top. Just to show that we're not tricking anybody. And I think the 220 is going to get rid of it. So we're going to skip the 50 and the 120. Push the center of the pad out, put it down in the middle, and then flatten the pad and just kind of press it in. You want it to be as centered as possible. That way you minimize the wobble. Okay, so plenty of water. This is all done on low speed, 600 RPM, with firm pressure, and you want to have good control of the machine. Put the machine down. Your front hand is going to be for all the pressure. Your back hand, you want to lock the trigger. Some machines are different, but you pull the trigger, push the button, and let go of the trigger. It locks. This is 600 RPM. When you do that, you then want to slide your hand up here with your thumb on top, like you're grabbing it from the side, and this is going to help you move the machine. So you don't want to push down here because you're going to end up with a machine that wants to run away. So if you push down on the handle, it's going to take off. If you lift up on the handle, it goes the other way. So this machine, or this hand for pressure only, you should be able to apply pressure. This hand is for control only. You can't really apply pressure this way. You can't always control it this way. Independently, you should be able to hold the machine flat. Together, you can have precise control. And because this machine spins clockwise, you're going to work in a clockwise motion. You're always going to go from left to right at the top of your piece and right to left at the bottom. This is going to keep all your water towards the center of your work area and also pull the water away from the tape and plastic or the drywall or the backsplash or the wood or whatever is on your adjacent area. Even though you're going to tape off properly, you're going to keep the water from getting pushed in there. So this is a fairly hard marble. It's going to take a few minutes to cut through the polish because somebody at the last training class did a really good job polishing it. So also you can see here clockwise I still have plenty of water in my work area. If you go the wrong way, it quickly dries up the work area. So always go in the proper direction. On 4 machines, it's the opposite because they spin the opposite way. All right, so when we're doing this, because we're doing a whole piece, I'm just going to go edge to edge. But if you were doing a countertop and the backsplash was here, you're going to work up to the backsplash here. Your next grit is going to be there. Your next grit is going to be there. And then by the time you get to 800 grit, if you're on the backsplash, you'll be okay. It'll blend in. There are other tools to use to aid in edging and stuff like that, and we'll get into those in another video. This is a quick tutorial on how to use marble diamonds. 4-inch diamonds work the same. We're using 5-inch. So here we go. I like to do one cut around the perimeter first. You can't rush it, so you want to find a comfortable position that lets you maintain the pressure and application for a few minutes at a time. Notice I'm going over the edge. If you only go up to the edge here, you're always going to end up with a blurry line. So anytime you do it, you want to go over the edge. So now I'm going the opposite direction. We call this cross-hatching pattern. I'm overlapping. So if you notice, I come down here and I make a 5-inch pathway. You've got to overlap every time. So as I come down here, I'm only going back here 50% of the width of the machine. So I put the center of the pad down the outside line of my last track. So 50%, 50%. And I'm always overlapping and going backwards because that maintains the clockwise motion. So also, until you're very comfortable, you want to place the machine on the marble flat and then turn it on. A lot of people are very comfortable with the machine, so it can be running and they'll put it down flat, and that's fine. So we've done one pass each way. This is the 3rd pass. I like to do at least 4 to give it a good cut to remove all the damage. And then we'll check out the surface to see if the scratches are gone. My last pass, I like to do overlapping circles. Also, going over the edge, you're going to apply a little bit of leverage to the machine. So if you're just pushing straight down, your machine's going to go over the edge. You don't want to tip and roll that edge. So you're going to actually put a little bit of torque this way with your wrist, but you're not actually tipping the machine. That way when the machine goes over, it stays flat. So you want it to come right off the edge, flat. Whichever way you're going, you're going to torque your wrist a little bit to keep it flat. If you start rolling that edge, you're going to apply 220 grit scratches to the downward area, and then your future pads are not going to be able to get rid of those scratches, and you're going to end up with a hazy line. If you're on a vanity or a bathroom sink or kitchen countertop, you can squeegee right into the sink or squeegee it off to the side and pick it up with a sponge in a bucket. Whatever makes the most sense. As you go, you want to clean your edges because this is where a lot of the dirty water, possibly contaminated water, possibly small diamonds that fall out or whatever, they're going to collect on the edge, and every time you go over, it's going to pull a little bit up, so you want to have that nice and clean with your next grit. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that all the shine is cut off, and I'm going to look close and make sure that all the scratches are gone. Even though we put the scratch diamonds come out of the toolbox and they're all crusty from the last job, you can just smack them. And clean up the dust. You can hear that. My ring leaves marks sometimes, but it's gold. It's very soft, and anything we do is going to remove the marks, so I'm not too worried about it. I am far more careful with cleaning up my countertops than I am my floors when I polish, so I like to make sure all the grit is gone. Okay, so now all the damage is gone. All we're doing is focusing on removing the 220 grit scratches with the 400. Same process, same amount of passes. Start with the perimeter. Overlapping is critical, especially on the edge. So if you start with the perimeter and work your way towards the middle, you don't have to worry about accidentally missing any of that. Even if you're not doing an entire piece like this and you're doing section by section, you can designate an area where you can use as your perimeter. Go diagonally if you want. So this is where it gets tricky. 400 is not really polishing, it's kind of honing, it's kind of in between. Nobody really knows. People argue about it, it doesn't matter. It's kind of that point where you can't really see a whole lot of what's going on. It's going to look clean. Depending on the stone, darker stones are going to show more scratches and stuff like that. You'll be able to read the scratch pattern. But on this light color material, we're not going to see a whole lot. So all we want to do is get down at a low angle and look at the shine, and then obviously in person we're going to see more than what we see on the camera, but you want to make sure that it all looks the same and you don't have any dull, hazy areas, cloudy areas, scratches, stuff like that. So now we're going to move on to the 800. I have a little bit of an advantage. I can stand and put pressure on, but there's plenty of people that are not as tall as me. You do have to apply a little bit of physical pressure. It's a little bit of a physical process. So you don't want to just stand back and let this float around, because it's not going to give you what you need. You can hear the motor sound change, and that's the sound that you want. Imagine about a gallon of milk is sitting on top of the machine. It's 8 pounds. That's right where you want to be. 5 to 8 pounds is a good amount. It's not a ton. It's maintainable. It's manageable. And it'll give you that firm, flat footprint that you need to get a good cut. Again, this hand is only for pressure, and this hand is only for guiding. Together, they are one. Like Power Rangers, but only 2 of them. unless you have an extra one. Or you're an octopus. Okay, 800. 800 starts to grab a little bit. The softer stones for sure. Limestone, Jerusalem gold limestone, you'll feel it. The machine's it's gonna grab a little bit more. So you're gonna have to fight it, and you're gonna have to kind of suck it up a little bit. 1800 is gonna grab a lot. It's not fun, but if you work with the friction and you dig back into it, it'll give you the shine that you want. So these pads tend to grab a little bit at the higher grits. Some of the other pads, we'll do some videos later on with the Infernos. They don't grab at all. So it just depends on the diamonds that you're using and what you're trying to do. But so here's 800. Starting to look a little bit shiny. A little bit of reflection. Not much, still hazy, blurry, whatever. But we're getting there. So 1800. Now your 800, your 1800, and 3500 are going to wear out a lot faster. You'll probably go through three or four sets, maybe 5 sets of those before you ever replace any of your 400 or below. A little bit more dirty working in the training facility because there's dirt and dust and granite dust on the marble and marble dust on the quartz and all that stuff. So we got to keep it extra clean. All right. $1,800. So it's starting to grab a bit. When it grabs and you have that friction, you can dig into it. Pull back normal, dig forward. It's like trying to slide a suction cup around, but if you don't have the right amount of pressure, it's going to throw you around all over the place. But if you have a good, firm, planted diamond, then it'll be okay. You'll be okay. You don't need a ton of passes at the higher grits. Everything's going to be okay. So as you go higher in grits, you can actually spend less time, depending on the situation. So on a floor, you have uneven tiles and you have lippage, and you have picture framing in low areas that you have to hit a certain amount of time, so you can't speed it up too much. But on a slab, you can go from 4 or 5 passes at 220 and probably be good with 2 really thorough passes at 1800. But because I don't want my video demonstration to backfire, we're gonna just keep it simple with four passes or so. So now we should be seeing some more shine. If this were red or green or brown or black, you would start to see a lot more color coming up. Doesn't really look all that impressive through the camera, but it's getting there. It's a process. This is 3,500. This is the last diamond step. Some people polish after 800. That's good for them. You can polish after 800, but the lower you stop with your diamonds, the more you have to work your polishing compound. So the higher you go with your diamonds, the less you have to work your polishing compound. So it's kind of an even trade, but a higher finish that's produced mechanically, meaning the higher you go with your diamonds before polishing, the more abrasion resistant and the more durable that finish is going to be. On some materials it's going to be negligible and not really noticeable, but on some it will make a difference. But the time you spend going to the higher grits is time you'll save on the final polish, which will then reduce your chances of orange peeling and texturing the material. So we only did 3 passes on that one. Now on some marbles like this one, this is Italian cream. It's in the same family as like Creme and Marfil. Same thing. You can kind of manipulate it a little bit. Yeah, we got a lot of smudges and swirls. That's called resin smear. It's all going to go away when we polish.